So we've looked at how we can connect among the 250 connectors, 250 plus connectors that Flow has available to it. We've looked at how to do an on-premise connector. Now let's look how to do even beyond that, anything with a REST API. And so what we're going to do is I've created this image library here, and I've added columns for baldness, age, and happiness. And we're going to connect to a RESTful API that does facial detection. And it's going to take an image of a person and then detect how bald they are, how old it thinks they are, and whether or not they're happy. And to do that, let's go back here to Flow and create a new flow. Let's create one from blank. And here, so let's start, we're going to look for SharePoint triggers. So let's filter by SharePoint. And what we're going to look for is when a file is created. So we'll put in our SharePoint. This is Ignite, and the library name is Faces. So let's go into our Ignite site there, and the library name is Faces. And then we're not going to select a specific folder. We'll just do anything that's in the folder. And then the next thing we need to do then from SharePoint is get the file content. Let's see, let's search for file. Get file content. And again, we'll use our site there and the file identifier. So that's listed here on the right as the identifier. And so now we have the actual file. And so now we're ready to send that to a RESTful API that can do the facial recognition. And so to do that, we're going to create a new HTTP connector. You can see you have some options if you have a Swagger API you want to do, or a webhook so that you can listen for calls back. We're going to keep this relatively simple. This is a quick call. And so we're going to do a post call, and the URI we're going to use is to Azure's facial API. And so we'll put in the URI for it here. And then in the headers, we need to put in our subscription key. And the content type, we're going to be putting in binary content, so let's list that out. And this is all defined in the API documentation. And then finally, our parameters. So we want it to return face attribute, age, gender, emotion, smile, and hair. And then the body of our request is the file content that we got from here, from get file content. So now this is going to return a JSON object. And let's save it. Why don't we just test it here? And so here we'll drop in a face. So we'll drop in this happy guy here. Come back to our flow. See that it detected that it was created. It's getting the file content, and we made the HTTP call. And then here's the body that we got back. So we're getting a JSON object back as described in the API for this. And so now we need to parse that JSON. So now let's do Parse JSON as one of the data operations. Data operations are kind of like your toolkit for doing a bunch of things. And so we're going to feed it in the body that we got back from the HTTP. That's the JSON response. And it needs a schema. And you can either paste in the schema, or you can take a sample payload like the one we just had, and it'll help define it. In this case, I have the schema from the documentation right here, and so we're just going to paste this in. And then finally, the last thing we'll do then is let's go back and update SharePoint. So do SharePoint, update file properties. Again, we'll put in our site from here. Our library name, faces. The ID of the file is here. And so we're going to put in the age. From our parse JSON, we can see there is the age found. The baldness, bald, and the happiness. And so here, once again, we're not using one of the pre-built connectors. This is a connector that was not in there. We're using HTTP to call out to an API that is not already configured in Flow. So now I'll save this. Let's test this again. Let's use one of our previous runs. So we'll use this run here. This is going to rerun Dwight. So it's going to find it, get the file content again. Ran the HTTP connector. We can see the JSON that it got back and the outputs. And then it updated the file property. So if we come back here, we should see that it's added. It thinks Dwight is not very bald, 40 years old, and not very happy, which I think was true. Let's try it with one other face. Let's do Mr. Johnson here. We'll see how he comes back. So we'll drop this in here. The flow is running in the background. We'll give it a few seconds, and we should see, I'm guessing he's going to be bald. 98.98 baldness, 44, and very happy. Dwight and The Rock are exact opposites. And so this is one simple example how you could use a variety of external APIs within your flows and connect them into wherever your business data lies.